when you start Rails new, the things that you get out of the box when it comes to productivity and performance are best in class when it comes to frameworks that you wanna get your application up and running in.
I wanna say welcome to our panelists and to our host Lucian. And I'll just let them do their thing because they're much better than I am at this. So everybody, give a round of applause.
Yes. So, hello, thank you very much that you are still here. I will do a very short introduction explaining a bit the purpose and how I think or how we think to do this. So basically, this is about a question that I think you saw a lot since many years. I might say since Twitter decided to rewrite their framework in something else, at least. That question that lingers around is like, can Ruby scale, or a more general, a more specific one, can Ruby on Rails scale, basically? And it has many forms. And we're thinking, having here people that were in projects. You saw some titles today and you see tomorrow, and I saw some of them speaking at other conferences about they are all having experience with huge, let's say, Rails applications, most of them are Ruby applications, sometimes in terms of the request, maybe, or teams and so on and so forth. So we will approach it in different ways. So that is the purpose. And my idea about this is that I have prepared, talking between us, 4 or 5 areas that we want to approach. So we'll start the discussion like that. My plan is to talk less, and if they will have a flow, let them have a discussion. And at the end, there will be space for questions. So this is how I think to approach it. So I think I will start, and I think we should start with a very short introduction of each one of you, telling a bit your name and where you work, or how do you interact with Ruby and something like this. You already post something, but
Celso, hello again. In the context of the panel, platform engineer at ClickFunnels, I joined the company as a Rails developer, and as I have previously worked with cloud computing, managing servers, I started as sysadmin a long time ago, and I started slowly migrating to platform team. So I'm kind of like working the bridge of software development and running on platform.
Maybe we'll go around now.
Yeah. So my name is Cristian Planas. I am from Barcelona. I've been doing Rails and Ruby for almost 15 years. And actually, I'm really happy to participate in this panel because this topic has been kind of an obsession for me for a long time. 12 years ago, I started a startup, and eventually it was sold out. It was fine, but I always felt that we could have done better, and it was written in Rails. We could have done better in the scaling side. So then I decided to join ZenDesk, where I've been 10 years, to learn, because for me it makes sense that some companies were able. Yeah, so actually recently I wrote a book about this topic, so even more happy to be here to talk about this.
Thank you.
Hello, so my name's Hana. I work as a software developer at GitHub, which I joined 2.5 years ago. I'm part of the code scanning team, code scanning developer experiences team, and my formal background is actually in judgment and decision-making psychology. Then I was working as a paragliding instructor, and then I learned web development and started freelancing, and I stumbled upon the Ruby, and that totally changed my life. So I continued to teach or coach at the meetup where I learned Ruby. It's called Ruby Most Historic. And last year, with some other friends, we also started a conference called Helvetic Ruby. Yeah, that's it.
Hey there, I'm a local. I'm Călin. I'm based in Sibiu. I'm the co-founder of Agile Freaks. We're a custom software company. We work with Amazon and UN, and we actually build Ruby for these companies. I've been working with Ruby, I don't know how much time. Same as Tom, I believe I started with .NET, and then from Ruby 2.1 or 2.3, we didn't even had server we were using Passenger or stuff like that, I started working with Ruby, and confronted myself with a lot of scaling problems. As you can imagine, working at big projects, and I'll share some stuff with you, things that I know. Disclaimer, I don't work that active with Ruby so far. I have great colleagues that are in the conference that they're doing most of the stuff that I'll tell you about now. So full disclaimer, their work, I'm just taking credit for it.
Super, that sounds great. So I was thinking to start with a very direct question. Like, we have this question like, does Ruby scale or does Ruby on Rails scale? So my question to you will be like, if you were to pitch to someone Ruby on Rails and say it scales, so if you like to pitch, I know that Ruby on Rails scales, what would you say to someone as a pitch regarding the idea that Ruby on Rails scales?
Okay.
Yep.
There's a couple approaches here, right? You can go and talk to the technical of you guys. I can say that Ruby scales because I'm working at a streaming application. Think of Netflix, and we have the P15 to 25 milliseconds and the P90 to 70 milliseconds. Right, and there's about 70,000 requests per minute in the peak time, and about 2.5 million requests in a week that happen to this application. Right. So for technical people, if you don't know, the P50 and P90 is like things that all the times that go under 50% of the requests and over 50% of the requests. So that's for technical people. But I can get to somebody that wants to build a team, and they're wondering, do I have to have a huge team to achieve these numbers? And I will say, no. You only need 6 guys, because Tom was saying the truth. Or if you don't want to chat about it, I can simply say, yes, it scales.
Yeah, super.
Yeah, so a couple months ago, a friend of mine sent me a link to a Twitter post. You know, internet, the place where anyone can write anything. And some engineer wrote like, you know, Rails, it doesn't scale. And at GitHub, they don't have any Ruby code left, like not a one line. I was like, okay, I actually saw those lines, and I can assure there's many of them left. So GitHub right now has more than 40 million lines of code in 30,000 files. I can't say how many of them are in Rails and Ruby, but it's a big part of that. We are a team, it's not even a team, so we are a company where we have 1,500 plus engineers working on that monolith. So for me, GitHub itself, it's a good proof that Rails scales.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else wants to add something? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, it's funny because I had exactly the same situation at ZenDesk. There was a guy in Twitter commenting, ZenDesk does not use Rails at all. And I asked him, who are you? And this is funny because in baby companies, sometimes this may happen, that you are working in a couple of services that are written in Scala or Java or whatever, and you have this impression. But believe me, there are big companies running as a Rails monolith, like ZenDesk, GitHub, Shopify too. It's not uncommon at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Celso, you want to?
I think that when we hear the word scale, our first things about the technical side of things, oh, we wanted this to be insanely fast, running, web scale, all these things. But like Tom said on his talk, software is not all about software. So sometimes what do you want to scale? You want to scale happiness in your company, the hiring process, the onboarding process. What is your scale problem? Because like the classic Twitter one, when you are like post-IPO company, you have a lot of money. You can do like a lot of things. You can rewrite your application. I don't know. So I think that's what you want to scale for. But technically speaking, Rails, yes.
Yeah, actually complementing what I said before is that what means scaling? You know, like sometimes I think in software engineering we have this idea that I build this piece of code and it needs to scale beyond infinity all the time for wherever. Like nobody builds a bridge saying, yes, this bridge needs to be able to keep a planet on top of it, and why it's not able. We should be able to understand that software is built with requisites, and the level of scalability is one of them. Moreover, I still think that the value proposal of Rails, of saying it's easy to build something thanks to this tool, it's still unbeaten. And moreover, I will tell you, I don't know about GitHub, but in the case of ZenDesk, if we would rebuild it now in Rails, would be much faster. For example, for us, we've been around 17 years, and there are certain pieces that are basic in modern Rails that we cannot use because of it's not retrocompatible. It would be a huge effort for us. So you could build a faster application. It would be building something in Rails in 2024. And despite that, we're still able to scale. So.
Oh, yeah, nice. Thank you. So, anyone else wants to add something? Or? So I will summarize it in a way that we, of course, answered yes to this first question, and we also they also answered something, also the question that I've started, yes, but, and we had also some specific rebuttals of some things that are coming after the and but thing. But coming a bit into, like from my newsletter, I started more and more see people that are either coming to Ruby and Rails first time, maybe more than in other years. I noticed this, or people that were coming back. I don't know if you are looking on Reddit or Twitter, you see some people that are saying, I left Ruby world a while back and I'm coming back. And sometimes there is this question like, if today I want to start a new Rails application, or maybe a new Ruby application, but I will put it about Rails because this is the main question. And my idea is really something performant. It needs performance in at least the backend or frontend, right? How would I start a new Rails app that is performant? What would you put there in terms of, I don't know, configuration or gems? I'm not saying to show the code there, but just as a general idea, how would you architect, or what would you put if you write Rails new, and what you do after this line in a way? Yeah, so Celso?
My reply would be make money first. and then you start thinking about optimizations on your Rails app.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think it's a great advice. And also, you can just get the basics right. So check that you're not having any M+1s. You can use a palette for that. You can use TurboDrive to avoid the page reloads. And you can even go further and use morphing. But first, you also want to see that your app and your ID works. And having set up some monitoring, performance monitoring systems, like between today's sponsors, we have AppSignal and Error versus Wild, which can help you with that. And it's a good start. And then you can see. You can always improve when you see, oh, there is actually a problem. Then you can tackle that specifically. And there's many tools to help you with that.
Yeah, well, all advice very good. I can probably drop names here. I'll tell some of the things that we use. So we're not building a classical Rails application that's user-facing. We're building APIs using Rails. By the way, you can build APIs using Rails, right? Don't think nice, shiny websites all the time. APIs, the numbers that I gave you are actually from an API that powers a video streaming application. And think about, when you want to think about performance, just tackle the big thing first, right? What's the most important thing your API will do? Will serve JSON, right? So make sure you have like a performant JSON library. The default doesn't work that great. There's the best one that I know now. It's called OJ for parsing JSONs, and it's much faster and memory lighter, right? And then you can go, I mean, by default, EJIT comes in now by default. So we got a 50% increase in performance using EJIT with 20% increase in memory usage. But I think that's a very nice trade-off to have. So tackle the big problems first. Don't worry about and then actually first make money, then look at the big performance bottlenecks that you have, because you'll have, if you have monitoring, as my colleagues were saying here, then you'll notice that you don't actually spend that much time in Ruby code. You spend a lot of time in I/O, like 25% of our requests, it's I/O, basically. We got it down to 25% of our requests, right? There was a lot of work there that happened, and then you can think about more exoteric stuff, right? Then you can start thinking about things like the validation library. Like you can use dry validations. It's about 20% faster, 14% faster than the thing in Active Record. But this is like nitpicking stuff. Or you can even go further down the road and you might notice something interesting with using threads in Ruby. We used to have a lot of threads in a process, and not intuitively, when we decreased the number of threads, we got a performance improvement. Why is that? Because of the global lock interpreter. There was a lot of locking of the process happening. So there's a lot of fine-tuning you need to do if you want to extract the best performance out of Ruby. But I will say this. When you start Rails new, the things that you get out of the box when it comes to productivity and performance are best in class when it comes to frameworks that you wanna get your application up and running. And I can tell you a lot of that stuff from other languages. Go, Rust, Haskell. We'll talk about it.
Sure. Super. Yeah?
Yeah, so actually, from my point of view, maybe the first step, so what you need to understand is that in most of cases, performance is not going to be fixed by re-architecting the whole application. I mean, yes, you can also do that. But most of the time, we have a team that is about performance, and it's about fine-tuning, like finding, okay, this piece is slow, we want to make it better. So first of all, a bit what Hana was commenting is monitor. Like you cannot say, oh, I'm going to improve my application if you don't know where to improve. That's the first thing. And then, in my experience, the most common points of attack to improve a performance of your application is first, database access. If an application becomes very, very slow, 80% of the time there is something wonky happening with the database. And the second is caching. That's the most common issues that we find.
Yep. You want to? Please. If you want Călin to say something back to this.
Yes, I don't want to say. I just remembered something. I have to tell you guys because I was giving examples of tools that you can use if you really if you're that kind of person that you wanna go brag to your friends, I build a performance application, on your first application, there's this set of tools that you probably, if you're a Rails developer, you should know. It's called Rubocop. And Rubocop has a Rubocop performance gem that will integrate into your CI pipeline, and it will give you warnings on the performance bottlenecks that can identify. I don't know, tell you don't use hash within different access, don't use OpenStruct because well, Egypt doesn't mingle well with that. So you get all that stuff with a simple gem addition.
Yeah, thank you. Celso?
Just going a little bit more technical and the make money first answer.
Okay, that was good advice. I don't want to.
But it's like, if you're creating your new Rails app, I think that there's kind of like conversation because you are just creating your new Rails app for what? To create a product. What is your focus? Your focus set on the product, on the features. You're just running. You're running a business. So when you start making money, you can hire some experts that will help with the thing. But technically speaking, I would go with Hana on the instrumentation because you want to optimize what? You have no metrics. So you made a change. What was the impact? What was the effect? So measurement, I think that is the most important thing pre-optimization. So make sure that you're measuring your application, you understand your application. Then you can start focus on the peaks, all the things. So I go with the numbers first.
Yeah, so just pitching a bit here with something that I talk a bit with some core committers at the Uruko. So, and I understood better the idea about there is an ongoing work to optimize the Ruby VM if you follow like announcements, and of course ongoing work to make widget better. And they tackle two problems of if you think about, I write some Ruby code and I want it to respond fast. Let's make it like very general, right? Ruby VM is like trying to make the performance of the first call of that, so how fast that will respond first time, and then widget, it's how fast that can respond after it runs a couple of times and it's warming up. And I'm not working on any of them, but I see a lot of improvement happening. It's lively work, like continuous work and continuous improvements on this. And I actually asked the core committee that was working on VM at some point, tell me some tips about writing performant code. And he shared a beautiful answer about that in the sense that I can tell you some stuff and we discuss some stuff, but he said you should write the code with, again, we have this in Ruby, right? With the idea that you will read it a lot and rely on the VM will get faster. So if you don't be busy that much, let me rephrase it. I don't want to say his own words because we had a long discussion, but the main idea was rely on the fact that there will be optimizations that are happening continuously. So you want to focus more on the idea that you want to write a beautiful or readable code, and the Ruby will get faster from here. And similar with my optimistic perspective is, if I can paraphrase also Tom from the speech earlier, is like we are now in the, let's say, lowest performance on Ruby that we ever had, right, in some way. And it will only get better, and the same with Rails. Right, so like we are somewhere, and this is maybe the lowest that we can have now, which is pretty fast, as they said, and it will only get better in the future.
Yeah, to back that up, when we updated from Ruby 2.7 to 3.0, we got 3x improvements as advertised, speed improvement.
Right. So with this, as it was a bit, how to say, hearing some topics and reading sometimes, I sometimes do this, read replies on Hacker News on Ruby articles. Not sure if you do this or if you are there, but sometimes there is this comeback to this question, to this answer, it scales. Yeah, it scales, but it's hard to work with Ruby, and specifically, this also has something to do with monolith in a big team. Did you, any of you, heard this discussion, right? How do you work with Ruby in a big team? So the next question is, or the next topic of exploration, it's more to the line like, how does Ruby on Rails scale, let's say, in terms of teams? And this could go into, and we can explore things like, I don't know, how do you make contribution from multiple people? What will happen there? What happens with onboarding? What are some advantages there, and so on and so forth? So this could be an interesting topic to explore. And maybe, Hana, you want to start with this?
Yeah, so before GitHub, I was working for a company where we were like 60 developers, and we often had to deal with merge conflicts, like close to daily basis. And I thought, yeah, this is how it goes. And I was really thrilled about joining GitHub as the place where the Ruby and Rails is co-created, but I was dreading a bit this. Like, okay, there are not hundreds, but thousands of developers working on the same code base. Like, this will be a mess. And then I joined the team, and I was so positively surprised that we have so little merge conflicts that I don't even really know about them. And if they happen, it's usually with someone in our own team. So you know that person, you know what they're working on, or they know you. So it's really easy to deal with them. And this is for a big part. So who of you is using code owners at GitHub? Yeah. So we have a code owners file, but we also have service owners. It's a gem which we published as a GitHub, and it's kind of like one more abstract level about the code owners. So we have services, and this gem also then auto-generates the code owner's file. So every file needs to have a team who owns that service and the files related to them. What that means in practice that we aim for having the files which the teams owns really like worked on by that team. If some other teams, for example, we have issues and pull requests, and those are teams which many other teams need to touch their code for whatever reason, because we integrate with their features. So thanks to the code owners, if we do changes in that code, they get pinged as a required reviewers, and they can say, okay, it's on us to do the work, but it's on them to accept it or give us some tips and give us the final approval. So having the code split in a reasonable way helps tremendously, and I really don't feel like there is a problem with so many people. That's one thing, and the second thing which I want to talk about is feature flags and shipping often and early. Like at GitHub, we ship close to 20 hours a day. Like there's a bit of a dump, like calmer time when the US folks go to sleep and before the European engineers wake up. But we basically just ship all the time, and we ship like groups. Sometimes it can go up to 30 pull requests in one deploy. And with this, because of the feature flags, we can ship the features gradually, and the code is already there. And everyone who needs to touch the same code, they already see it. They can accommodate the feature flag or the changes which will be coming. So this is another thing which minimizes the conflicts.
Thank you. Anyone else wants to pitch in? No?
Yeah. So actually, I agree with a lot of what you said. When I joined ZenDesk, maybe I was feeling the same way, like, okay, let's see how it goes with so many people. And now we have code owners and other tools that I will explain. But already at that moment, it was very clear that the teams were very aligned around the code. So it was not like you had one file that was being touched by the whole company all the time, you know? Sometimes, even if you have a model that is really central for the application, like for example, at ZenDesk, we have Ticket, which is huge. We divide the functionality in modules. So, you know, the team that owns certain feature on Ticket is the one that touches it. Then later we use code owners. So now each file at ZenDesk needs to be owned by one specific team. And if someone needs to modify it, they need the PR to be approved by that other team. And finally now, one tool that I am really happy about that we've started using last year is Packwork from Shopify, which allows you to make like modules, like mini applications with entry points that, you know, you can only access that module if you go through a certain way. That's actually kind of very nice for structuring the code, at least for us, like already app models was this kind of jungle of hundreds of files. Now not anymore. Now we can break it into smaller pieces, which are way more readable.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk a little bit about Rails, how we work, organization and speaking. First, we define what's going to be built. Feature speaking, like what our clients are going to see. After that, we split into different teams, and usually the teams have their own like namespace. So as we have like controllers, models, and views in Rails, we can go in this vertical. So each teams like owns each vertical, and then we try. Oh, I'm building this feature. It's gonna touch one of the other teams. Oh no, it's not. So I'm good. So we try to go. We try to rely. Not put many barriers on the tech side of the code base, but rely more on conversation and the people side of the things, not much on the tech side.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I guess I can go. Not a very large team. The project with Rails team, actually, not a very large Rails team, because Ruby is so efficient. But I can kind of answer your question by figuring out how easy it is to onboard somebody. Because I was just having a discussion with a colleague that recently joined from an Elixir project, actually. We have an Elixir startup, so he joined the Ruby team also, and he said it took him about a week to become fully productive in the code base, which is which is a huge code base being written from 10 years now, a Ruby code base. So that's a statement of, well, how friendly Ruby is, but also how well in the clear stuff it's a good separation of concerns, basically, and people can find a way around very quickly in a well-established pattern. When it comes to not stepping on each other's toes, well, you can always use if you don't like or if you're feeling a bit more exploratory, like I do sometimes, you can find it, and you don't like the classical structure of MVC because I don't know, everybody copied it. Right now, you can try to use stuff like use cases, and you basically separate each business concern. It gets separated in a vertical, and there's steps for each use case, and everybody can, when people contribute, they want to improve a certain step, or they want to change the entire flow, there's a clear place where they can do that. I think we have something that's hand-rolled or not, but I was mentioning dry. The dry libraries also have dry transactions that are perfect for writing these business use cases that are self-containing in a way and easy to maintain.
Yeah, thank you.
So far we were talking mostly about the technical solutions, but there's also like the product layer or the people solution. So what we also try to do, and it's not always possible, but we try that, is then when we are planning our work and we know that one of the features is depending on the other one, or that the two projects will be touching pretty much the same code or like changing the same feature, then we try not to do them parallelly. It's not always possible, but like thinking ahead of what the team and the other things we'll be working on can help with this to prevent the conflict.
Yeah, thank you. So as you touch a bit the product, so we talk about the technology, and then we talk about the team, and so something is missing here, and that is the user, right, and the end user and the market. So exploring also this side a bit about speed of development in some ways, like how do you think about the balance that we have or not, but let's say that we have, right, in the speed of execution and the speed of development and the speed of releasing features to the end user, and how Ruby and Ruby on Rails can help with that. What do you think about this thing? Yeah, Hana, you want to? Oh, yeah.
So GitHub has a culture of ship it. We even have a bunch of emojis. We have this weird squirrel to remind us that if in doubt, we can ship it and see. The good thing about working at GitHub is that we can do dog fooding. So we are using our own product to build it. This enables us to do, for most features, we stuff ship them first. So we get a feedback before it even goes to a first customer or first user, because we are also users. And so we are shipping the things early to collect this feedback. And then we also often do private betas to get the feedback from a bunch of customers, and then we can decide to go with a beta ship and then do a GA, so general availability. So we are more on the side to ship it.
Yep, thank you. Anyone else wants to add anything?
Yeah, I'll be very honest. For me here is that if something is not released, it didn't happen. Like sometimes I think out of any just feel this thing out. Oh, I'm building this, but eventually we will release it. Until it's not released and it's being used by users, you didn't really complete anything. For me, it's hard. For me, the word code complete that we use at ZenDesk, and I use it at meetings, for me, it's kind of meaningless until it hits production, let's say. Really, nothing happened, because there are things that you don't know. You are never 100% sure of the effects of your code. I think we have great coverage at ZenDesk. We have like 56,000 unit tests, something like this, huge amount of integration tests. But eventually, it hits production. Other times, things happen. So my point of view is that speed of execution all the way.
So can I pinpoint a bit this to make it more focused? Do you think there is an advantage in using Ruby on Rails to help you do these fast releases or iterations or things?
I believe so. But actually here we enter a strange area that is the human factor, no? It's like, I do believe that Rails is a great framework because it's easy for humans to build systems in it. Someone can come here and say, well, no, actually, the future, I am amazingly fast writing web applications in assembly. And yeah, it's a joke, but I mean, it's hard for me to tell you. I will tell you I don't believe you, but it's hard for me to prove. Yeah. So yeah, maybe because, well, it's Ruby is a very human language, it's a bit closer to how we speak. It's hard for me to explain why. But I honestly try different languages and see, well, is still holds this promise, is still the best thing to build web applications. For me, it still does. So.
Yeah, okay, thank you. But the thing is, talking about amazingly, so I'm amazingly good at building applications in Java for mobile applications. But it takes me 50 minutes to compile the application. I lose focus. It takes me a couple of days to actually put it in the App Store. So when it comes to speed of delivering those features to the user, there's certain features of the Rails in Ruby that make it a little more suitable. And I think it came because of a big part of it is the community contribution. They keep doing things that push you over to try automation, basically, right? That you'll have a lot of ways to integrate this into your CI, a lot of support from wonderful third parties that will help with even automating code reviews, doing gem updates for you, basically, and finding security vulnerabilities, and so on. So there's a lot of the good thing about this, the Ruby community, there's a lot of best practices embedded into it, along with not only limited to writing good code and testable writing tests and so on, but also when it comes to the entire lifetime of the project, monitoring, deploying, monitoring, and so on. There's a bunch of cool tools in the ecosystem, and the new version of Rails, I think, even comes in with a Docker image, so you can just have your Docker container created right away. So I think that's a nice touch to speed of delivery.
Yep.
Yeah. Bringing an opposite perspective from Hana. We ship, but not that quick, because our platform is like a shopping center. So our clients, they are using to sell. So it's really sensitive when our clients are collecting or not money. So I think that depends on the phase we have experienced when the platform was ramping up after the release. So we are like shipping insanely fast. Ruby, it's amazing. Now we're a little bit dependent on the area that we're gonna touch. We take extra care. But for example, for a hotfix, if we have an incident, Ruby is amazing. You just change lines of code, it's interpreted, you just run the test, boom. So when we need to speed up, then it's amazing to have a Ruby.
Yeah, adding something here about the hotfix, I am finding the most amazing ability on Rails when you have a bug. It's just you can start the Rails console and explore live what is happening there. I found this quite powerful. Before you even open any dashboard or something, or you open it already, but I don't know, but this ability to explore the Rails console there, and now, not now, but since something it also has by default sandbox, so you can mostly explore its safety in some ways, right? I found that amazing. In a way, sometimes even amazing to explore some live data to inform some of your decisions in the future, right? So in some ways. Yeah, thank you. Perfect. Please.
Yep, and thank you, Celso, for a bridge, because I realized that I would like to provide a bit more context to the ship it, because it sounded like YOLO, we don't just ship it, but that's not how it works. And in order to be able to ship often and fast, there are many things which happen before and after the ship. So one of them is planning, actually. So we do thorough engineering planning so that if you get the tickets, or we call them issues, and you work on them, that you know that they will kind of fit together. And if you finish the first one, by the time when you got to the third one, that you don't have to redo the first one because you didn't think it through. So one thing is plan your solution altogether, and thanks to feature flag, we can ship like parts of it. And then second, there are multiple ways how to test the change, right? So we aim for small PRs and small changes. One obvious thing is to write tests for the new behavior. Then we do, if it's something which is in UI, or you can also test the backend behavior through the UI, then we do like we use code spaces, so it's not total local development, but we do like a code space / local development test. So on your computer, then you open the PR, you get the reviews, and we deploy the so-called review lab. So that's a version of the application with your pull request code, but which connects to the production database. So you have a special URL, and you can test your changes in real scenarios, because especially some of the features we are working on, you can't really, or it would take too much effort and time to try to mock them locally. So we rely on this review lab testing. And this link is also shareable, so it doesn't need to be just me who's testing that. Also my colleagues can do that. And when you're happy with this test, then you actually can ship the thing which you're shipping. It's usually under the feature flag, so even if you ship it, it's not going to the users, then you enable the feature flag, then you can test it on your repository or in your team, in your organization. As I said, then we usually stuff ship. So we do ship often, but the time since we start with the work until it reaches the user is usually longer. Unless it's a fix or unless it's a change, which you can just be 100% sure that it does what you want it to do.
Yeah, and one last thing to that, the monitoring that we stated initially, that's also very important. You'll get, you rely on alerts after you ship something. You'll get alerts if performance degrades, if features don't get used anymore. That's a clear bug of things. So keep a sharp eye on your dashboards and make sure you have alerts and monitors put in place. What's a developer's best friend, Datadog? You should configure that properly.
Yeah, that's what we use. It's like for every deploy, we have a Datadog dashboard, which every person who's deploying is expected to follow. If you know what your change is doing, you can also follow, look at the feature-specific dashboards. We have Sentry, which will alert us about any new exceptions. So during those 40 minutes, you're expected to see if you are breaking something, if there are problems. We first deploy to 2%, then to 5%, so you have enough time to catch that.
Yeah. You want to add something?
Yeah, so actually it's interesting, like our pipeline is similar. So each deploy of the monolith takes 3 hours, which sounds, I don't know how it sounds to you, probably slow, but most of those hours are not about deploying the code itself, it's about testing them. We have automatic tests on each pod. Pod is a division of host that is associated to a division of the database. And then we have time, we call it baking, that is like for people to manually test stuff, or just because sometimes errors pop out. Like, for example, at ZenDesk we have this concept of automation. There is a process that runs every hour. If you have introduced a bug on the automation, you won't see it until the peak of the hour. So that's why we need to wait. It's important. The second is about feature flags that we also use a lot. One thing that we also do is that when you enable something, a feature on production, you cannot enable directly on prod for everyone. We have 3 phases. Well, first one is staging, which probably you know, and then production is divided in 2. One is canary, that is typically accounts that are testing accounts, or for a reason are flagged, that they could be there. That those accounts get the features earlier. And then after that, we typically start the process of 20%, 40% until we GA.
Yeah, thank you. So this discussion can go on, but I want to ask one small thing and then rely on you to put more questions. So let me be a bit, put a, how to say, a critic hat and say, yeah, all is great, but Ruby does not have types, you know. So
That's all good.
what do you think about? Of course, when people are saying that Ruby is a dynamically typed language, it has types. When people say that, they mostly referring to static type analysis. So the very specific thing that they expect most of the time when they say that, because I want to say again, Ruby, it's a dynamically typed language. Okay? So anyone wants to pitch in on this?
First, hey, disclaimer, I work for ClickFunnels, opinions are my own. On our code base, we have a survey runtime, because on the runtime, sometimes we want to get some bugs earlier, better earlier than later. But I'm a huge fan of typing. Yeah, I like this typing thing, especially because I don't need to rely on my memory. If I write some code today, then I get back like 4-6 weeks after typing. I think that this helps a lot, catching up with the code base, remember the things when I made a mistake. I don't know, I'm like huge fan of typing. I heard some, thankfully we don't have, but but I'm a huge fan of typing. And now, hopefully, RBS inline. It's gonna be cool.
Anyone else wants to add? I have.
Yeah, well, okay. So,
Yes, please.
there's duck typing in Ruby, right? Like the purpose, I like very much the purpose of types, as you mentioned them, right? And I've worked with a couple of languages, and I didn't find the types do their job too good, right? So you have your classic Java and .NET, and you get some weird type issues. Then you have like Elixir has some static typing, but it's inconvenient to use in the DLXer thing that checks the types. It takes years to run and so on. So if you want to make types in a language, you should think it through at the design of the language, not add it on top of it. It just feels unnatural for me as a Ruby developer that I've seen the language go on and on, right? So the best type system that I've seen is not Haskell. It's over-engineered. You can do entire problems in Haskell using just types. It's a little language called Elm. It has the perfect type system. And the reason I say this is that the type system there, it's actually helpful, and it generates the most wonderful error messages that you'll see in all languages so far. So if you're a JavaScript developer, do yourself a favor, go to Elm, take a look at it, just write some code with it. It'll just give you an impression of how types can contribute to a language. And they were baked into the language, right? So this, my 2 cents. If you absolutely need to use types in Ruby, I think I'm not paid by the dry guys, but I use the dry types. So I use dry types, and they turn out to be a great success. They turn out to be really, really useful. Typing in some structures, they help with type cohesion and so on.
Thank you. Quickly, if you want to answer.
So we did introduce sorbet and types to GitHub code base. There are many engineers with many different backgrounds, some coming from many different languages. So there are different groups, people who love it, people who don't like it. And so the general aspiration was to get to, you can either have that comment of typed true or typed strict. If you have typed true, then you don't really need to do many code changes yet. The automation will take care of it. So there are teams which go for typed strict, and they write all the method signatures. We're in the team typed true for now. Oh, that's it.
Yeah, thank you.
Very briefly, like at ZenDesk, we don't really are using any kind of type checker at this point. Honestly, I still believe in the old proposal that if you write enough tests, you don't need types. I am an old timer in this way. I must admit that sometimes, particularly lately, we've been hiring engineers that didn't have much experience in Ruby. And in my opinion, maybe because their code was not expressive enough, I missed the types when trying to read the code to understand what's happening. But again, I still believe on the original proposal of Ruby of no types.
Yeah, so just to summarize quickly, what I hear from this is that we have some solutions for if anyone wants to have static type analysis. So I think it will be nice to, if you have some questions, to hear some questions from you, and we will have a microphone that can go. So who wants to ask a question? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was very interesting. But I want to continue this type stuff, the types question, because I heard this discussion multiple times. I don't have any strong opinion about types. I work with different languages in my career, so I'm not a fan. I'm not offended. But to be honest, how many issues or bugs you have because of lack of typing? Because in all my career, I had only one example when the string coheres to integer, and it is not that intuitive that it can take some part of the string and make it integer correct, or it could go to the 0. So this is the only problem I had in all my career, and never any else. So to be honest, I don't understand this whole topic which came again and again.
So the question is, did anyone have any big bug that was because of types, right? That's a thing?
I'm the unfaithful one, but I can do the case for types here. I don't think that I had no issues. But basically, I don't think this, in the other languages that I work with, types actually help with speed of development. There are more than finding issues right. It's a little easier to look at the structure and see, okay, apart from naming, what these things hold.
Just to mention something about types, this can be a discussion that, if you read online, has no end, right? Well, I'm saying has no end because there are languages in all directions, and they are successful on the wide range.
I would like to add about the question.
Very quick.
Yeah. So I think that the conversation about types is a bit mixed. It's a different conversation from the one about type checking. Like typically when people were complaining, oh, Ruby doesn't have types, what they meant is hard types, not checks. Because if you have types, you can do certain memory performance optimizations because you know their size that you cannot if you don't have types. The thing is that type checkers don't help for that. So yeah, that's...
I just wanted to give an example because I see it very often, actually.
Very quick.
If you ever encountered undefined method for a nil class, then you might have bitten by it. And I have the feeling that you sometimes did. And languages like Crystallang or so, they have checks for that. So,
Super. Yes.
Yes, to respond to.
Andrei, one day, or Greg?
Yeah. So moving on from types, I was wondering why does GitHub why are they moving away, or why are they moving to React from what they were using before?
Okay, so this talk is recorded, and
Stop the recording. We want to hear this. Stop it. So,
I try to figure out what's published and what's not. Yes, there are parts of GitHub which is moving to React. This is my opinion, okay? We have different teams. Over the years, we also hired many developers, and some of them were Ruby developers, and many weren't. And so we happened to have teams which were way more confident to work, for example, with JavaScript and React than with Ruby. In some teams, like, for example, pull requests or issues, those are pages where every other feature interacts with, so they feel like they want to have this additional interactivity, and they feel like React is the good answer for that. That doesn't mean that every team at GitHub is doing this change. So it's more like even before, we were using many languages. So we had Rails, and the monolith will be always in Rails. We have many views in Rails, but now we also have React, we also have Go, we have Search in Rust, and there are many more. So it also depends a lot on the team.
Yeah, I just adding here, I think in general, if we look at a very big company with a lot of people, the general thing that I notice is that they are multi-language from one point forward. It's very hard to remain full-on, totally one single language. I think somehow it comes with numbers, or I don't know, like it seems like a side effect of having a lot of people in some way.
Yeah, and it also comes with the people.
It's a scale problem.
People want to think that their decisions are totally objective, and then they try to find the arguments why they reason for one language or the other. But I think we often forget that the argument that the team is proficient with one of the language, and then language fits pretty well to the problem, we don't have to argue if it's the best or second best or third best, but if it still can solve that problem, and we have a team which can use it, then it's often the good solution.
Yeah. Other question? There was Andrei, one on the beginning, and then maybe Stefan.
I noticed that to the Ruby community, there are two practices that seem to be more prevalent than in other communities, which is testing, automated testing, and refactoring. Do you feel that the Ruby community embracing those two practices helped the companies or organizations you work for scale?
I can give a quick answer because I was talking to a colleague of mine, at least to a part of it. I was talking to a colleague of mine, I think 2 days ago. He had this great snippet. He said, like, I enjoy so much writing Ruby that I find it very nice to refactor the code. I always go, in my code, it looks so nice, and it's so pleasing to write code. It's a pleasure to refactor. So I don't know if that counts for something. It's overly romantic, but you can say that the fact that the language makes it easier for the developer to understand it and to write it, it also makes it easier for the code to get refactored. So answering the refactoring part of your question, the testing, it will take me, it's a debate.
You want to add something quick? Yeah?
Yes, very fast. So I like a lot tests. I call them tests are documentation with a gun. Meaning you can write a comment, say, no, don't remove this. It will be removed. If you write a test, then you're escalating the problem. You say, hey, you will have to modify this. I think that tests are useful for us to make specifications that have more weight than just something a documentation or a comment or something like this.
Yeah, thank you.
Add something real quick. I worked on a big refactor a few months ago, and the best thing about this being the community is that when we were discussing refactor, everyone on the team was aware, and they would like thumbs up about refactoring something, and the testing obviously helped with the refactor process. So everyone be on board on the same boat helps a lot.
Yeah. We had another, and then in front, yeah. Oli?
Hi there. So the question I really want to ask is how much GitHub spend on Datadog, but I appreciate your answer. I can only imagine. But the question is about code owners, actually, and so that makes sense from the code point of view. Do you also do that for your tests? So teams that have an area of code that they own, they also own an area of tests that they can run independently, or is it a bit more like the Wild West?
That's an interesting question, and I don't think I'll be able to provide a definite answer. I think as every file needs to have its own owner, then my expectation is that we own the test files which belong to our main files.
But you can't run that team can't, in isolation, run just tests for that? Because I imagine the test run speed for GitHub is going to be big.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, you always need to run all the tests. We have like tens and more than 100 CI checks on the push and on the pull request. And they they check different parts of the tests. They also check different combinations. We have one, for example, which checks all the feature flags, how they interact together. So the nice thing is also, we don't have testers. Because we use the product, it's expected that you as a developer write the test and you test the feature. Then our product managers, they also they play around with the feature to find the edge cases or if it works the way how it is. But generally the idea is that you own the feature, you own the tests, and you're responsible to them. There are cases where there's a team who is making a change in a way how we do something in tests, and then they need to do it in all the tests. But also this is encouraged. So it's encouraged that if you need to change something for everyone, you can do it. You just need to get some of the code reviews. And it's not every team then needs to approve, especially for changes like, removing deprecated components or introducing a new method how we do authorization in tests. So it is one team, but then they do the changes for everyone usually.
All right, thank you. So we will take 1-2 small questions, quick questions, and then you can talk with them at the City Wolf or tonight if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. A simple question, I guess, around definitions. If I asked you, what does at scale mean, and you can pick an order of magnitude and you can pick a metric, what would you at what point are we at scale?
Yeah. I did not want to push you, but
Question.
that's the question.
I know, Christian.
Yeah.
So actually, I've been thinking a lot about this because every time that I follow all these threads on Twitter about scaling Rails and this, I feel I'm becoming number because the conversation is in such an abstract level. Like there was this thing that DHH saying, oh, now Basecamp average is 90 milliseconds. Someone said, that's very slow. It's like, what? I mean, it's like you say, I run a race in 20 seconds. Am I fast or slow? It's the same thing. It's like when you say, what means a scale? It's just a very general concept. When I typically say at planetary scale, meaning you have a global business that runs hundreds of thousands of users. But that's a very general idea. Per se, so when my application runs at scale doesn't really mean anything. That's the problem that's the problem actually of all this conversation about scaling, I think. Yeah.
I think you can also say if your app can handle all the users and requests you have, then it scales. And you need to keep it that way.
Yeah.
After the clap, I have enough.
Sorry. Do you want to add something? No? Okay. Yeah. I think we are good. I thank you very, very much. We have to thank them because they were here and answered all your questions.